Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen Podcast by Eastman's. Now your host, Todd Helms.
Hey guys, this episode's brought to you by Juniper Mountain Coffee. Juniper Mountain Coffee is a coffee company that might be new to some folks, but I tell you what, they've been bringing high-dollar premium coffee, top-of-the-line juice to the market for a long time, and decided that it was time that they put their name on it. And I tell you what, I'm stoked to be partnered with them. I've had a chance to try all the products that they have, and it is amazing stuff. If you're like me, you got to have your coffee in the morning, especially in a cold duck blind or gearing up to get ready to go chase some birds. Got to have that coffee, and you might as well reach for the best with Juniper Mountain.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Wingmen Podcast. And today I have Jeff Jones with me. Jeff is co-founder, I'm thinking I got that right, Jeff, of Chêne Gear. And Chêne is a company that I first saw a couple years ago now, maybe.
Yeah. With
the Waders, you guys' line. And we've been fortunate enough to partner with you guys in the last year. And thank you for coming on. And I'm excited to have you talk gear, talk waders, talk what you guys have coming up, and let's talk hunting. You know, it's getting down to be crunch time.
Yeah, it's not far off. We're 15 days away.
Oof.
16 days, something like that. Yeah.
Early teal, doves.
Doves. So being south where we are, dove at opening day of dove season's a huge thing. Huge thing. I mean, I don't know if it's like that anywhere else in the world, but this is like everybody's dream comes true. Nobody sleeps the night before, and it's just dove. So then we roll right from dove. We'll go right into early teal, and next thing you know, everybody kind of gets to bow hunt for a little bit, and then our duck season will be here. So,
nice. Yeah, my buddies in North Dakota are cranking on honkers as of today, so that's pretty cool for them.
Yeah, you know, and that honestly, that's really become quite a bit of a bigger thing down here too. So we'll have an early goose. I'll get the dates wrong, so I shouldn't even try them. But they'll open, I think, late August, early September, kind of coincide with dove and all that, depending on where you are. But there's so many resident geese down here. It's a fun hunt. There's a lot of people spend a lot of time chasing them around and all that. So
it's gotten to be that way on a lot of places. I know Wyoming's actually toyed with the idea of opening some zones for early resident geese because they don't go anywhere. They just kind of stay here. But, well, Jeff, give us a rundown of what Chêne is, how you guys got it started, where the idea came from, just who you are, where you're from, and then we'll lay that groundwork and we'll go from there, man.
All right, cool. It's man, it's just kind of a labor of love. I really don't have any kind of prepared speech for it, so I just kind of answered off the cuff. Chêne was and always will be. It is a waterfowl focused brand. That's who we are. That's what we love. We love turkey also, waterfowl and turkey. But the passion every day lies around waterfowl and then the gear that you need to, make your day more successful. I mean, successful is kind of, I say successful, if you get through a whole entire day and you get to spend the time out there that you want, that's a success. I can't make you kill more birds or make them fly or anything like that, but we're trying to make the time of field more enjoyable. And so,
absolutely.
That's kind of what it is. Not everybody is fortunate. I grew up as a weekend hunter. I grew up, cherishing those days, and they're far and few between. Honestly, if you're a public land weekend guy, those are the only days you get. You want to be in the field. You don't want to have problems. So kind of focused on that guy, making sure that we're building quality gear that doesn't interrupt any of their season. That's what you want to do.
Oh, that's cool. I like that philosophy. And that's the first thing that I saw of Chêne. Well, let's back up a bit. Okay. What in the world does Chêne mean, and how did you come up with that name? There's going to be a whole bunch of my northern compadres and Rocky Mountain Western guys will be like, what?
Oh man, it gets brutal all the time. the way people say it, the way they say the name. But it,
Chêne?
yeah, you hear that one, Chêne, Chenini, all Cheen. Man, I got a guy I've been buying boxes and stuff from for almost going on 4 years now, and he still calls it Cheen. I mean, I'm like, I've quit correcting him. I'm just like, whatever, man.
It is what it is.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh,
Have a good
man.
time. Chêne is French for oak.
Okay.
So the core of our business and the core of who we are is dedicated to that flooded timber duck hunter. I mean, that's home for us. That's where most of us, everybody here, that's where we grew up hunting. That is just what's home. Nothing against anywhere else, but when I think of duck hunting, I want to be in the timber. So Chêne is French for oak. When you kind of go through and you're trying to find names of your brand and all that, you wanted it focused around waterfowl, green timber duck hunting, and just finally kind of came across that French name of Chêne for oak, and it kind of stuck. And then it's got that weird little diacritic above the E, and we just kind of changed the font up a little bit to make it look like the Delta. So Memphis, where we're based out of, is kind of known as the top of the Delta. And then the Mississippi River, how it flows down, is the whole Delta area. That's where all the duck hunting takes place over here. So that's what it is. That's what it means, and that's kind of how it ties to us.
That's super cool. Yeah, when we came through Memphis 2.5 summers ago, on the way down to pick up my black dog from Southern Oak Kennels and down in Mississippi. Yeah. We rolled right through there.
I mean, you came, honestly, from where I'm sitting out that front door, you came 300 yards. I mean, wow. you went right by us to get to where you went. I mean,
wow.
And that's the cool thing here at the shop. What started as, this was just our office, and I'm kind of back in the warehouse, and we do our stuff here. We sit kind of at an intersection of anybody that's coming from the east going west to Arkansas or western Tennessee to duck hunt, or anybody that's coming south. Those two major highways are right here. I mean, they're within 500 to 600 yards of our office.
Oh, wow.
So it inevitably, people just kind of started pouring in especially on like a Thursday afternoon or a Friday afternoon, and then back on Mondays, for everybody who's coming to hunt. So we actually had to, after the first year, we changed our offices around and opened a little showroom out front. It's kind of a retail showroom setting. That worked for about a month, and it was too small. So we had to, again, go in and kind of rip all that out and change it up. And we have a really nice little show. It's not huge, but we have a good, comfortable showroom. People can come by, they can get a beer, we can have snacks. My dog's here all the time. They can try all the gear on here and see it.
That's nice. That's nice.
And if they have an issue, that issue is taken care of here in the back of the offices. So we kind of do everything here, and it just kind of led to more and more people show up on Thursdays and Fridays and Mondays, and there's generally a crowd here.
No, you guys are right in the heart of it down there, man. Mm-hmm. That's, like you said, at the top of the Delta. That's so cool. Where did the idea, I mean, other than creating awesome gear to keep guys in the field and maximize their experiences, where did the idea come from? Because and correct me if I'm wrong, but Jeff, the first thing that I ever saw from the company was waders.
Right. Yeah. Waders is the core of who we are. That is the problem that we wanted to try to solve, was the issue that waterfowlers face with waders. Because inevitably, a wader, the way the fabrics are made and the way it's done, you're doing it so you can be dry out there, but it's actually, the fabric's not intended to do what we're using it for. It's a very difficult thing to do, is to make a pair of waders. So that was the focus, but it's also the one thing that almost every waterfowler needs. Even if you're a guy that hunts 95% of your time in dry fields or in dry situations or in a blind, there's going to be with those 1 or 2 hunts a year that you're going to be in water. So that guy will have a pair of waders somewhere. Almost every waterfowler has waders.
Right.
So, I was bullheaded and convinced enough that I thought we could make a really good wader. I mean, a good wader, different than what was being on the market at the time. And I thought we could solve that problem of, there not being really quality waders out there. There's some out there. There's some good waders out there, but predominantly it's an issue that needed fixing. And we had a completely different process, different fabrics, different method of putting them together, and then a different approach of actually selling them direct to the consumer. So
Right.
there was a lot of things that went into it, but waders was from day one. This is what we want to do. We want to make the best wader on the market.
It was interesting because when I was able to actually get my hands on a pair and look at them and put them through the paces. I mean, I've been a fly fisherman my entire life. I've worn waders. I mean, I don't even know how many thousands and tens of thousands of hours I've spent in waders, right?
Right.
And everything from fly fishing to duck hunting to even hunting big game in certain situations had to have waders. And you're right. There was always a compromise. There was always something about them that wasn't quite right. And the first time I grabbed a pair of the Chenes, I looked them all over. I was like, man, I like the feel. I like the way these are put together. And then I put them on and there was no binding. They were comfortable. They felt substantial. They didn't feel like I was going to tear a hole in them when I hit them with the first stick. But what blew me away was the first time that I stepped in one of our fast, rocky western rivers out here. And every single one of the guys that in my crew has said the same thing. The thing that blew me away the most is whatever you guys did to source that boot is unbelievable, because you can get a boot. You can get lots of boots to grip mud and to grip, gravel or whatever. But when you can get a boot that grips slippery bowling ball size rocks and I'm not slipping and sliding and I can get across a riffle to help my dog on the other side of the river if I need to without falling down and busting it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, whatever you guys did, man. Those are the stickiest wader boots that I've ever worn. And I have worn them all, from the fly fishing world to waterfowl. It doesn't matter. And those ones, I have, I don't know how many pairs of stocking foot fishing waders that I quit wearing. They're in the bag. If I need waders, I grab my Chenes.
That's awesome.
I love them. I absolutely love them.
A lot of that comes from, you sit there and even when we do our product videos, I try to tell people, how we do it. So, I mean, there's a thought process behind everything. So you just, when you come up with an idea, no matter what it is, whatever that product idea is, the first thing you want to do is jot down every problem that you come across in the environment you're going to wear that product in. And it's just a checklist of, does this solve that? Does this solve that? Does this solve that? And it's almost impossible to solve every single problem that you come across. But man, if you're solving 90% of them or 95% of them, you're really doing something. And it's the one thing that, kind of with me too, is this is the only thing I've ever done. This is the only industry I've ever worked in. It's the only job I've ever had was making products for waterfowlers since I got out of college. So I've seen and I've been around and I've made products forever. And the one thing that I'm so very proud of at Chêne, and it is a principle behind the brand. It is a principle thing that we do. We're going to spend 2 years developing an item. We might not spend 2 years developing a T-shirt, or we might not spend 2 years developing a simple gun case. But when it comes to a technical hunting product, whether it be some of the jackets that we have, or especially the waders, or a new style of boot or anything like that, that thing is going to go through some paces. I promise you that. That is a non-BS, non-marketing thing. We're going to spend time with it.
Well, like I said, the waders in general are what I have the most experience with, and man, we torture test those things. I'm wearing them a lot every situation that I wear them in is extremely cold, lots of ice, snow, super abrasive rock and brush and just nasty, nasty conditions. And you take wader material and you walk through the brush with it when it's 40 or 50 degrees outside, and it's a lot of wader material can shrug that stuff off and not puncture, not tear, not get abraded. But when you add in ice, when you add in a layer of frozen grit on your waders because it's 10 degrees below zero that morning, the stuff happens and you notice the imperfections in your equipment really quickly.
It pretty quick. It'll show you how a product's made. Now, I'm not advocating. I'm not saying that our wader's indestructible. You can tear them up. I mean, ice is, there's pieces of ice out there. It's just like a knife. I mean, it's just part of it. And I think I always kind of make the comment that a lot of people will think of wader as like medieval body armor, like I can do anything I want in this. Well, no, you really can't, but you also have to build the product knowing what it's going to face, what people are going to wear it in.
Right.
And you build it the best that you absolutely can.
Well, I think you guys have knocked that one out of the park. I really have. I get to play with a lot of stuff. I get to see a lot of gear, and like I said, when it comes to waders, especially, I've worn them all, and the Chêne are my favorite. I'm really glad that I was able, when I saw that first product, and I told our head of sales and marketing, I'm like, Brandon, you need to call these guys because this is a serious piece of equipment, and I want to do something with them. And we've just been blessed to have a partnership with you guys, and it's been great. Excited to see what else you have because you started with the waders, and man, it seems like this year, especially in the last 6 months, seems like my social media feed's just constantly blowing up with Chêne this, Chêne that. Yeah. Tell us what you're doing, man, because it seems like there's just all full court press.
Yeah, I mean that we really are. We're not trying to dominate and take over the market. We're just trying to put some really good product out. Right. And to round out our product line, first year we were just waders. We actually had some jackets and stuff. We decided not to release. We concentrated on the wader, that fleece line wader pant that we have. Did some merino, and then like a vest, a scout vest, which is a really key piece. But then it was the second year that we came out, we added a couple of jacket styles to it. We make a waterproof jacket out of the same material as the wader, so you really get waterproof protection. We feel like that's key. And then I had this Primaloft synthetic down jacket that I've been working on for a couple of years, and I really kind of sped up the timeline on it and got it into a bunch of people's hands, and they absolutely fell in love with that piece. It's really cool. It's something that's kind of dear to me. It's a kind of a side project that I wanted to see if we could do it. So I'll come back and tell you about that. We spent a lot of time with that one. And then it's just, we had some demand for field bibs. Guys wanted bibs that they could wear in Canada starting out early. That's kind of how our season is. I know the Western hunter is a little bit different. He'll spend all his time in the West in dry fields, a little bit of water. But for us, the way we do, we'll go to Canada early, kind of come back to the Dakotas, and then we're home for season like that. And then kind of after season, there's some goose hunting that goes on and all that. And so we kind of needed a bib for those to answer those situations. So we built a bib.
This episode of the Wingmen Podcast is brought to you by Leupold Optics. I've been running Leupold Optics for a long time on the big game side of things, and I love the performance and the quality of that brand. But when Leupold brought performance eyewear into the mix a couple of years ago, I thought I'd seen it all, but I was wrong. That performance eyewear from Leupold keeps my eyes protected. It helps me with my target acquisition with a crisp, clear sight picture. And guys, I got to be honest with you, I'm stoked to be partnered with a company like Leupold. So for all your optics needs, give Leupold a look.
So the bib, we build it out of the same material as the wader, just like we did the Hydrolock jacket. And then we kind of made some features on it, some pocketing situations, the way we did the straps on it that fit for a hunter wearing it in that environment where he's in and out of a layout blind, maybe in and out of a pit, maybe in and out of a brush blind or whatever, field row blind, anything like that. So a bib has to, while it's very similar to a wader, it has to function in a couple of different ways for how you wear them. So we focused on the bib. It was a big product for this year, getting that bib out. So that was one we were real proud of it.
Cool. I'm excited to actually see a pair of those. I'll be honest, that is such a core piece of every waterfowler's kit. Pants are great, but when it gets cold, man, there's nothing to beat that. The heat retention and the protection that a bib gives you.
Oh,
and it seems like you've gone through so many different kinds and over the years, and none of them have been just right. And I just looking at what you guys produced, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. I'm excited to see them.
Yeah. And honestly, man, if you look at our stuff, it's not, you can get into this thing, in product development and building products where you overbuild them and you ask the product to do much more than what it really needs to do. So if you kind of boil all of our stuff down, the wader, the bib, they're pretty simple. I mean, there's not crazy pockets in weird places. There's not light bars or different things like that. It's a pretty simple product line, but it's built well, and it's built for the situation where you would wear that product.
Yeah, exactly.
It is very species specific built product.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
That's one of the things that I think has suffered in the waterfowl world, especially, is we've been wearing crossover stuff for so many years. I remember back in the day when I got started, it was all, military surplus stuff. It was like, you were freezing your butt off. And when it got really cold, you were wearing the same stuff that you wore hunting deer in November, and that didn't work, and it was like, it's just different. So it's really cool to see, like you said, a species specific approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun. And it makes it, like I said, it makes it better for the guys that have limited time. Nobody wants to go out there when they get 15 Saturdays a year to duck hunt, and we get that weather that we all want as waterfowlers, and the guy's been out there for 2 or 3 hours and it's cold, and like, I want to go home. Well, this is the day you're supposed to be out there. This is the best day in the world for you, but you're leaving because you're cold. There's a gear. We have a gear problem. Mm-hmm. So, trying to solve for that. That's what we're trying to do. I want everybody to be comfortable.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Yeah, this spring I still dabble in the world of fly fishing guiding a little bit, and had a couple of trips in early spring, and I was wearing my Chêne waders. Man, don't tell my outfitter boss, but anyway, I was wearing my Chêne waders, and all three of the clients were just like, "What are those?" And one of them was a duck hunter, and he's like, "I'm checking that stuff out," and I don't know if he ended up making a purchase or not, but they were all like, "Man, those are really cool." And I have the black ones, the solid black ones, and so they're kind of unique looking. You don't see a black wader very often.
No, you don't. And it was one of those that you were kind of on the edge about, is this a good color? And it came by happenstance. Honestly, it came by because I was working on the kids program that we rolled out. So I was building sample kids waders, and I was running low on material. And my material supplier said, "Hey, I've got a bunch of this charcoal color." I was like, "Fine, we're just building samples. What's it matter? I'm trying to build fit." Well, people saw it, they liked it, and then my kids were wearing it, and I could see them, in a situation in the shadows behind a big oak, and I was like, "Man, that is a really good color."
Yeah,
it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's honestly, that is where that color, that's how the evolution of that color happened. We didn't set out and go, "Let's build a black wader." It just happened.
Yeah, exactly. But it's funny because when you think about that, even out here, and on the days that are the best, it's bright sunshine because you got shadows everywhere, right? And especially in the river bottom, there's so much broken stuff, and you're trying to blend in with a bank, and you think, oh, I want that light tan color with the grass, but then you got brush, then you got shadows if you're in the right spot, and those black waders, those charcoal colored waders, they're just a shadow. They just turn into a shadow, man, and they're slick. They're slick. I like them a lot. So that is super cool. Who is Jeff Jones? Give us a rundown, man.
Oh man, just a dude. I am. I'm just a dad. When I got out of college, I went to college at a school in Arkansas, and I graduated in '97. When I got out, some guys that I'd met and knew of were starting a brand called McAllister Company. And McAllister was making wax canvas. That was their whole thing. Made a wax canvas shell vest.
I had the sweater with the
with the duration sweater with the wax on it.
Yep.
Great product. It's one of mine. So that company grew from making just that vest into making jackets and luggage, and it just kind of just the evolution of it just grew, and it became a place where I learned how to make product, and it was a great group of guys, and we all had ideas and we all had products that we wanted to make, but nobody at the end of the day knew the fundamentals of sitting down at that time. And we've all kind of learned from there, but at that time, no one had the fundamentals of sitting down and like being able to build a medium or build a large or build an extra large, size it like this. And I remember I was at a factory. We had a factory in Arkansas, and that factory owner pulled me aside one day and he said, "Hey, one of y'all gonna have to learn how to make clothes. Somebody needs to learn how to read a tape measure. Somebody needs to learn how to do this and that." And we were all trying it, but I really delved into it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna figure this out. And from that point on, that was really the spark that lit, is learning how to build clothes, learning how to build sizing. And then because I was learning it from a factory, I learned it from the side of the people that actually make it. It's easy to say, hey, I want a shirt and I want it to look like this and that, perform this way. And the factory or the cutting and sewing of it is like, this is impossible. You can't do this. So I got to kind of learn it, the back side of it. I learned the back end of how to do it while working with those factories and working with that. And that's really kind of who I am and what I did. That's just the only thing I've ever done. I mean, if you ask me, my wife, I joke with her all the time. It drives my dad crazy. My dad is a really intelligent, really mechanical. He just understands stuff greatly. If a car is full of gas and the battery's charged and it won't start, we're going to have to sell it because I don't know anything else to do. I mean, that does it got gas in it? Is the battery working? Yeah, well, there's a bigger problem. Let's sell it and get something else. I mean, I don't know that world, but I can make some clothes and I know how to make duck hunting waders. And I have a team here that supports everything that we're doing. And I have some other people here that know how to do stuff too. It's not just me, but that's kind of what I am and what I do. I make hunting products.
That's cool. Yeah, I did, the obligatory social media stalking to get a little feel for who you were and kind of what you're about. And yeah, just a dad. There's no such thing as just a dad. I'm in the same boat, man. And I love it. And there's no higher calling. I can tell you that.
Oh, I do, man. I have three wonderful, I have a tremendously great wife. I have three wonderful girls. They're 16, 12, and 8. So I can, I have customers that come in up here and I can sit up here and beat my chest and talk about being a duck hunter and, we're tough and we know how to do this and that. And then I can go home and play dolls. So, I mean, what do you want to do? I get them. I try, I don't force it on them. I try to get them. We have a camp over on the river, and I try to get them out over there and go. And, their interest kind of comes and goes depending on it. But, I mean, it's open to them, and I would take them every day if they wanted to go. And, they love it. I have my oldest. I'm really proud of her. She's starting a Ducks Unlimited chapter at her school. My kids are always up here working. I mean, you want to talk about child labor? I got some child labor going. I mean, you come in this shop, especially on the weekend or anytime during the summer. There's a kid sweeping or mopping or packing boxes or doing stuff. I got some child labor. So
I love it.
Somebody turn me in for that one.
No, that's the way it's supposed to be, man. Mine are younger than yours, but we're instituting. We got hours, and we got to pick up after the dogs, and we got to feed dogs, and we got all that stuff. And it's kind of like, well, what about an allowance? Well, their allowance is they get to live in my house and eat my food, and
they don't understand, man.
No. Mine are little, but you drag them out in the woods, take them out when it's cold, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And like you, outkicked my coverage big time on my wife. I don't even know what I'm doing with that half the time, but I don't know. That's who we are, and the duck hunting and the clothes, and that's what we do. Mm-hmm. But no, it's cool, man. My hat's off to you for balancing it all and doing it all. That's super awesome.
Man, I try. My wife is tremendous. She really is. She's been she supported me my whole career when I was working for other brands and stuff, and then with launching this, she just delved right in, and she works up here with us, and she has always been great. She has always been supportive. So
you got to have that. You got to have that to be successful. There's no doubt about that. But what about the hunting? You've been in the hunting industry your entire career. How did your hunting get started? Have you been doing it your whole life? I
have, yeah. So I was pretty fortunate. A lot of, it's with most of us that grew up in hunting, it is a way of life. I know a lot of people enter it later. With me, it was no choice. I didn't have a choice. I had a granddad and a dad that I hunted with, duck hunted, deer hunted together. And honestly, I think it was with my dad, especially with my dad, it was like, no, you're going, because that ensured. Well, it was a different time too. I mean, like I can remember, like it was never a question. My dad was going every day, mm-hmm. and especially every weekend. We were very fortunate. We could hunt right there at home, and he could go to work later or whatever not. But it was a deal where, like, if he was going, I was going.
Right.
Like I don't even remember asking to go. It was just what we did. Like it's odd for me. Like when I grew up in a small town and grew up around like-minded men that were similar to my dad. I remember going to college and meeting people and fraternity brothers and all that. And I would meet somebody like, oh no, I don't hunt. My dad didn't hunt. And I'm like, what? Hey, what? Number one, what are we going to talk about? And number two, how do you not hunt? Like it was such a foreign thing to come across somebody that didn't hunt. So that was kind of different. I love people that get into it older in life. I think that's really cool because that takes a commitment.
It does. It does.
That's a complete life change to adopt hunting older
and
in
a
life.
learning curve.
Oh my gosh.
Massive learning curve.
Massive learning curve. But for me, I was just taught as a kid, and that's what we did. And we would deer hunt a little bit, but once duck season started, we duck hunted. My granddad's a big bird hunter. My dad's a duck hunter. That just kind of seems to be what our family has always been about, was duck hunting. Deer hunting's fun. Everybody loves it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I work for a big game company, man. Look at that on the back wall. You know what I mean? Yeah. But having the ability to pitch the idea of Wingmen 6 years ago now, and it literally taking off is so cool because, like you, that's what we did all the time. I actually had the opportunity where we'll be releasing it, I think in October. Was able to get my brother and my dad out here last year, Christmas time ish. It might have been, I think it was after Christmas, like January, and we did a family duck hunt. Just the three Helms boys for the first time since, man, I want to say college, at least 15 years, maybe 20. We live in different parts of the country, And I get to hunt with my dad a lot, but my brother's super busy and doesn't get away, and his passion is whitetails. And man, we got to put it all together. So I'm excited for you guys to see that film, obviously, because you're partners with us, and your gear's your waders is front and center, and that's just it speaks to exactly what you're talking about, because that's stuff we did all the time growing up. There just wasn't an option. We were going hunting on Saturday. It's just what you did. And we were going bird hunting because that's what we had, and now we don't get to do that together. We're doing it separately, but we don't get to do it together as much anymore. And so when you get the opportunity to spend time, it's even more special.
It's a big deal. I hunt with my dad still quite a bit. And I mean, it's just great. You just cherish those times that you get. I mean, it's a lot different now. It's me taking him and taking care of him and all that. Where it was different when I was a kid. But
my dad talks about that exact thing. So we did a podcast to kind of supplement sit your dad down for a podcast sometime. That's a whole other that.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine. That was my dad.
I did. I dragged him into the studio and I was like, we're doing this. And I said, don't freak out. And anyway, it was great. But we did a podcast to supplement that. And he talks about that exact thing, what you just said about when we were kids, because I think you and I are probably about the same age. When we were kids, it was dad taking you. And he made sure you had your stuff, and he had it for you. And I didn't get pandered to by any stretch. If I forgot something, oh well.
No.
But he made sure we had clothes and guns to shoot and shells to shoot, and he took us, gave us the opportunities. And now the roles are 100% reversed. I'm going through his stuff the night before, making sure he's got everything he needs, and it's like crazy. But we talk about that very thing, and I hope one day that my son can do the same thing for me.
Oh yeah, man. And fortunately, my dad and me, we kind of reversed roles pretty early. Where I grew up, we didn't have turkeys. There was no turkeys down there. And where I went to college, one of my fraternity brothers I met said, "Hey, you want to go turkey hunting?" I was like, okay. And we went, and I just fell in love with it. I mean, hook, line, and sinker. I fell right off the deep end with turkey hunting. So I got to kind of, when I was getting out of college and then getting my career going and all that, when you're in the waterfowl industry, the springtime of the year, there's hardly anything going on.
Right.
So that's always been free time for me. So I started this with my dad back years ago, of taking him turkey hunting and kind of teaching him as I was learning it going up. So that was really cool too. So we've kind of had a long process of this.
Oh, that's awesome.
Roles reversing.
Yeah, I get to do the turkey thing once in a while, and then obviously my dad's still spry enough he can come out west and do some western big game hunts with me. But yeah, that's kind of the goal, and it rolls back into what we were talking about being dads. I hope my girls take me hunting when they're older. I hope my son takes me hunting when I'm older, he's older, trying to instill those traditions and that culture of hunting. Like you said, man, I can't imagine trying to come at this with no background.
Oh, I know. I talked to a guy the other day. I mean, he's a customer. He came in and bought stuff, and he's probably been hunting. He was in his early 40s. He said he'd been hunting about 10 years, but completely self-taught, completely just on his own. And, and then, it's like anything else you pick up older as an adult. It's like you're more intimidated to get into something as an adult than you are as a kid anyway. You see little kids all the time pick up new sports or new activities. It's like, oh yeah, this is what we do. We just roll right into it. But as an adult, there's such a barrier to getting into hunting. So when somebody comes into it later in life, I'm like, man, do you have any questions? Is there anything I can help you with? I'm willing to just open up and really try to help them.
No, 100%. You talk about that hesitancy to tackle new things as you get older. And I came into being a father a little bit later in life, and my girls are ate up with horses at 8 and 6. And of course, living in Wyoming, horse culture is very strong out here, and especially where we live, to hunt big game really effectively. And in my neck of the woods, horses are a big boon, and I'm thinking, yeah, I get you guys horses. We can get horses, but I'm using them all September and October. You won't see your pretty little horses. They're being in the mountains with daddy, but, that's kind of intimidating when I come to that, because I didn't grow up around horses. I didn't grow up packing pack strings into the wilderness. I grew up 5 miles from the Canadian border. I run a chainsaw and operate boats, and I commercial fished in college in Alaska. But coming at it, something that big and that intimidating at 45 years old, I'm like, ugh. And I hate to even admit that, you know what I mean?
But honestly, man, it's like the best thing that you can do.
Right.
It is honestly, it is the best thing to do is to say, go to, if you imagine going on a pack guided hunt for the first time, and the guide's expecting you to do some things. I would just go up to him and say, look, man, I got no idea what I'm doing, but I'm willing to learn. You give me a few strokes, you give me some ideas of what's going on and tell me a little bit, I'll get it. I'm here to help. I'm not going to be a problem, but you would be a problem if you didn't admit that. Yes. And you kind of acted like you knew what you were doing.
Let that ego get in the way.
Yeah, man. That's horrible. So,
well, that ties back into creating the first pair of Chêne waders.
Yeah.
Well, you knew what you wanted to do, and you had a background. You weren't coming at it completely foreign, but it's like you had these ideas and you really wanted to tackle that, and it takes moxie, it takes grit.
Well, that, and it takes a lot of patience too, because no matter how you come into it, you're going to eventually work with some factories, or you're going to work somewhere where they've done this before. And I had to approach it with the factories in a completely different mindset. I mean, it was because, what we do, we build that wader out of nylon. Well, most everybody else builds a wader out of polyester.
Mm-hmm.
Polyester is easier to print. It is super easy to print. Nylon is difficult to print. It has to be done in a completely different format, and it's a long process, and it's a lot longer lead time. So the very first thing the factory's going to say is, "Oh, you can't do that. You don't want to do that. It's going to cost you way too much, and it's going to take forever." And you're like, "No. I want to do that. This right. I know what the problems are. This is why I want to do it." So it's that convincing them to change their mentality of how they do stuff. And, no matter where it is, wherever that factory is, they're used to doing things a certain way because that's what their customers want. And to completely change their mind and get them to buy into what this new guy is coming and saying for this new brand that they've never heard of, they don't know anything about.
Can't even pronounce it.
Right. It's difficult. They're like, what in the world?
Yeah.
Why did I take this phone call?
Right.
So it took a lot. There was a lot behind the scenes. It's not as simple as, hey, here's a wader, I want to make it. It's not. It's completely different.
This episode of the Wingmen Podcast is brought to you by Savage. Guys, a couple years ago, I started shooting a Savage Renegade shotgun, and cannot tell you how impressed I have been with the product. I've put thousands of rounds through a couple of different models that I have, and they do nothing but go bang and kill birds, and that is what I need in a shotgun. The fit and performance is next level. I love how comfortable they are. I love the fact I can adjust the fit if need be. I love the fact that the gun is super tough, cycles and works in all conditions, and gotta say, they just plain kill birds.
Why nylon?
It's tougher.
Okay.
Absolutely. No, unquestionable. It can't be questioned. I mean, it's as far as tensile strength and everything behind it, nylon compared to polyester, it is undoubtedly tougher. And you can feel it. You can touch it and feel it. And you can say, yeah, this is, you can feel the way it's weaved together, the way it's put together, the strength of the fiber itself. It is tougher and stronger.
That's
it really is.
I kind of thought that was going to be your answer, because that was my first impression when I grabbed a pair of the Chêne waders. I picked them up and I was like, these things are tough. You can
Yeah.
just tell just by the way they feel. They're substantial. They're tough. Yeah, it's a wader that I think is going to last people for ever. You know, I mean, because can I send them back? Can I rebuild them? Can I do? I mean,
Yeah,
run us through that.
So it's a tougher product, but it's just like anything else, man. I tell people all the time, it's like a vehicle. If you change the oil, if you put gas in it and you wash it and you do the upkeep, this thing is going to last you.
Right.
If you leave it coated in mud and blood and it lives in the bed of your pickup truck, it is not going to last you.
Right.
That is 100% user error. You've got to, these things are expensive. Take care of them. Don't baby them. You don't have to baby them. Use them for their intended purpose, but don't purposely destroy them. So they'll last. It's a very good product. But yeah, so if you do have a problem, you go out and catch it on something in a blind or in a boat or whatever happens. Whose their fault it is, I don't really care. If it's got a small tear in it or big tear or anything like that, it comes back here to me. And it's me or a couple of people that are members of my team. We'll fix it right here.
That's awesome.
I still live by that philosophy of I'm trying to service the weekend hunter. And I mean that not because I'm not going after a guy that only uses his wader occasionally. I want the guy in the wader every single day. I want the guys that are making a living out there in the waders every day. I'm saying if there is a guy that only has 15 Saturdays a year to duck hunt, if he goes out on a Saturday morning, catches his wader on something, tears a problem with it, I want it back to me and back to him before the next Saturday. I don't want that guy to lose a Saturday.
That's phenomenal.
We go through great strides to do that. There's a couple times where, over holiday periods or some things are out of our control that we can't do that, but that is our goal. Our goal in this shop is to do that. And, people would say, at first when they would come into the shop, they would say, well, you're a new brand. You're probably not selling that many. You can probably do that. But as you get bigger and as you grow and as you sell more, you're not going to be able to keep up with that. Well, you can't see it in this video, but if you came to this shop, I would show you how our repair area has grown and grown and grown. And now we have it designed and built as stations. So as we need to, we just bolt another station on, teach another person how to do it, and we are able to keep up with that growth to support our customers. That is our number one goal. We want to get you taken care of.
That's cool, man. That's not a cookie cutter approach to this equipment, to waders specifically. To know that a guy that has an issue is going to be taken care of as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. That's peace of mind for me right there, and I try to tell people that all the time. The whole buy once, cry once mentality. I think it's important when it comes to your gear. You want equipment that's going to last. And in the long run, how many years am I going to get out of a pair of Chêne waders? Well, yeah, if I beat them up, treat them like you said, don't take care of them, they're not going to last, but nothing's going to last like that.
Your vehicle won't last. Your house won't last. Nothing will last if you abuse it.
Exactly. But if you take care of that, a piece of waders like these Chêne, like the Chêne waders that I'm running now, those black ones, I could totally see myself still wearing the same waders 15 or 20 years.
A lot of that it'll come into how you take care of them, how you store them.
Yeah.
But there's the wader is not going to disintegrate or fall apart.
Mm-mm.
That's not how the fabric's built. It's not how the boot's built and all that. It takes some exposure or abuse to cause problems. And we do an end of season review. This is still a free thing that we do. I tell everybody that comes in here, hey, if you buy a wader after season, send it to us. I love the guys that will go the effort and send them to us, because that gives us a chance to put it in our tank, go over the wader. We'll clean up the zipper. We'll treat the boots. We'll re-DWR the entire wader and send it back out to them. I mean, honestly, we really like doing it. It's work. It keeps everybody busy, but it also ensures that wader is going to last longer.
Right.
And a guy that's willing to do that is willing to put in the effort to take care of the wader.
I don't think there's another company that does that, like what you guys are saying. Yeah, you can send stuff back to companies and they'll refurbish it, they'll do whatever, but not like that. You know what I mean? That's different. That's hats off, man. That's really cool. That's phenomenal.
It's a cool process. It's also, and honestly, it's a selfish process because I get to see a ton of waders, how they're used, how they're worn,
right?
And we can evaluate, are we building it correctly? Do we need to make changes to this? So we get to see a ton of them. We clean them up, we get them back to them. And, that way we also kind of ensure that that guy's going to get another season out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely. Yeah, he gets his waders back. He puts them on whenever the next time is. And he's like, man, these things are just like they're brand new. I'm going to do that again next year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. That's cool. So let's switch gears and talk hunting. Because you said you got doves coming up. We're in the same boat. I've got September 1st dove season, and it is nothing like what you guys do down there. Let me tell you that right now. But, man, we're just not that far out. We got 15 days, and we're going to be at it. What's your plan? What you're doing first? Doves?
Doves first. I'll dove hunt first. Then I will I'll teal hunt a little bit. We'll have, depending on weather, sometimes our teal can get blown right through.
Yeah.
So, but generally we'll have a pretty good teal hunt for a couple weeks. That's always fun. And then it kind of slows down toward the end of September. I don't do the resident goose hunting. I would if somebody's, got some. I don't have a place for it. So I'll go dove, I'll go teal, and then we'll get into going to Canada. Once we get in October, we're going to go to Canada. Couple weeks up there. Saskatchewan area.
Cool.
And then I still love the Dakotas. North and South Dakota to me is always a fun trip. I love going to the Dakotas. That was kind of one of my very first experiences in traveling as a waterfowler. We went to South Dakota, went to North Dakota, and we duck hunted dry fields, saw things we'd never seen before, shot ducks in a dry field, and I just kind of fell in love with traveling as a hunter. That's fun. That is the time that you can see and experience new things, and I like traveling. And then once our season opens here, I don't leave the woods until season goes out. I don't do any more hunts anywhere else or anything. I still have some bucket list hunts I want to do, and then some things I would give up the woods to go do. But hunting in the timber is home. That's home.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, it's everybody's got their thing, and it's all super regional. That's for sure. And I've been blessed to get to talk to I don't know how many different guys now, and there's always that one thing where home is special. For some guys it's the timber, like what you've got. For some guys it's dry land field, but everybody's got that one thing. And I think it's cool that you travel and go do that, but there's something to be said for knowing that, man, these dates right here, this block of time, this is my home turf. And I know where I'm going. I know what I'm gonna go out and do. I know what snacks I'm gonna take. I know what I'm gonna I mean?
Yeah.
You got a routine.
I do. I mean, and the other cool thing about it, most of the guys that I hunt with, we've hunted together for a long time.
Right.
I mean, a long time. And where I hunt over there, it's public land in the refuge. It is like I check it. I religiously check the river level every day, summer, spring, duck season. It's like the first thing I do. I wake up in the morning, what's the river at? It's just a habit. So the guys I hunt with, we know where we're going based on what the river is, where the water's at. And it's really cool. I mean, we're all friends and we're a tight group, but when we leave that camp at whatever time it is that morning, there may not be a word spoken because everybody has pretty much their job to do. We know from the evening before what the plan is. It's not a whole lot of standing around, What are you going to do? What are you going to do? It is a group of guys that just click together, and everybody's got a job, and we don't really have to talk about it. It's kind of like, it's just second nature. So I love that part of it too.
That's so cool. I haven't, I had that in Michigan, before I moved to Wyoming. I had a group of guys. It was the same thing. Everybody, once the location was decided, it was like everybody knew what the deal was. You know, this person's job is, they got the decoy spread, and we're going to do this. And then this person's, you know, whatever, in charge of breakfast, and it's just, and then everybody knows what they're good at. Like, I hate brushing blinds. I hate it. I hate brushing layout blinds. But I love setting up decoys. You know, I love looking at the wind and figuring out what these birds might going to do and anticipating. And you figure out real quick, all right, Todd's not going to be brushing blinds, but, you know, Dan doesn't mind that stuff at all. He kind of likes brushing blinds, and he's good at it. And you all just divide and conquer, you know, and pretty soon you're hunting.
Yeah. Fortunately, we don't have to brush a whole lot of blinds. We don't really, you know, it's standing next to a tree and all that. Yeah. But we did, when we go to North Dakota or South Dakota and Canada to hunt, it's layout blinds and stuff like that. And I'm a blind snob. I mean, no one is, we're not going to not kill ducks because somebody got picked out.
Yes.
I like it for guys to, my goal is for people to go, all right, where's that blind? That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I will turn a layout blind into a pea field in a heartbeat.
Well, you do that, I'll set decoys, and then we'll meet up for coffee when it's done.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so cool. So if you get out this way, obviously I extend a lot of invitations, and very few people have ever taken me up on them. If you get out this way, you feel like leaving the woods for some breathing room and some open country, give me a holler, man. I'd love to host you guys in January.
We may have to do that, because that is one of my bucket list areas. I want to see that open country and that little skinny water river in front of me. That with moving water and all that, some of those picturesque, like Montana, Wyoming scenes that you see, that is on my list. I am going to do that. I want to see that world happen.
It's fun, man, and we'll work it out. So I'll trade you. You come out here and do that. And I've never hunted true timber.
Oh,
you know,
man,
like you talk to you Southern guys, man. They're all like, "Wait, it was a beaver pond? No, that's not flooded timber. Wait, it was flooded." And like, because we had all that, but I know it's different. I know it's not the same, and I've never gotten to experience that. That would be so cool.
Man, I'd love to take you. You get it right, and you get the days right, and the water level right, and the temperature right, and the crowd around you. When it all comes together, man, it is absolutely magical. And I've taken some people, a lot of times when people will come in to hunt, I'll kind of lay back and work my dog, or kind of keep an eye on anybody new, because there's a lot of things that go on in the timber. I mean, if you've never been in a true flooded green timber hole, we have some over there on the river. I mean, this thing it's not 20 yards wide and 20 yards deep. You know, it's a true late January tight spot. And if you've got 2 or 3 guys in there, it's crowded. And if you get a big group, like I've seen groups of, a big group is 300, but if you get anywhere from, 60 to 300 that fall in, you can kind of look at your time. If you see that first duck's foot come in and it's 2 minutes later, they're still falling in, that's a great group.
Yeah, that's big.
And when you call that shot in that little tiny situation, that little tiny setting, I've seen people multiple times go to the plug, and we're looking for anything dead because nothing got hit.
Yeah.
It's just the gun was here, and I was and you see a lot of that, so it's fun. I mean, the timber, it's different. It is a completely different animal. I mean, everybody, like you said earlier, everybody has their home and they love it, and you know what you're doing and all that. But man, you put somebody in a situation where 20 yards in front of them, there's 300 mallards and they're in a strange area and there's trees everywhere and there's water. Gets pretty sporty.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Love it.
That's so cool. Well, let's stay in touch and see if we can make something like that happen. I'll hunt swap you because I'd love to host you guys and have you come out and do some dry field stuff and do some little skinny water ducks, and it's fun. It's fun. We'll stay in touch with that. So
Good.
I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to let you go. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited to continue to work with you guys and grow this partnership and watch Chêne grow and continue to recommend products and watch people just fall in love with your stuff like I have. But if you could only shoot one bird one way, what's it going to be, Jeff?
Oh, mallards in the timber.
I knew it.
No question asked. No questions.
I always close podcasts with that same question, and I've only ever had it once or twice where a guy was talking about one thing and then he completely went like 180 on me at the end, and like, nope. So it seems like that's magical, man. That's super cool, and you guys down there just ate up with it for good reason.
We are. It's a magical place. That's exactly what it is.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for jumping on, and let's stay in touch and figure out a hunt swap.
I'll do it, man. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.